and I'm going to see if I can save this. Oh, no, I was not able to save the context. Hey, welcome to Prompt and Circumstance. I'm Ilan, and David is out today. So I'm going to do something a little bit different. On today's episode, I'm going to go ahead and do a first look at a highly uprated tool from Product Hunt. And this one solves a problem that I've experienced. I'm sure many of you have too. The experience of having to replicate context across different AI tools. So let's give it a try. But first, let me tell you about our sponsor for this week, Querio. Have you ever lost time because you had to ask a data team to answer your product questions? With Querio's AI agent, you ask natural language questions and it goes directly to your data sources and gives you answers and beautiful visuals right away. You want to try it now? Go to their link at querio.ai and let them know that David and Ilan sent you, and you'll get 2 months free of their Explore product. It's $1,000 value. Try it today. And here we are on the page for AI Context Flow. This was just launched on Product Hunt last week when you're listening to this, and it's already got 395 upvotes. The reason is that this solves a problem that I'm sure many of us have experienced day to day. You go into ChatGPT, you put in a bunch of context to get a great answer, and then you're like, hey, I need an image for that. Let me go to AI Studio from Google and get something from Nano Banana. And then you got to put in the same context again. Maybe you like copy paste it from each place. So what this tool says it does is help you copy that context over from one place to the other. So let's dive in and try it out ourselves. This is a Chrome extension, so we're going to add it to Chrome. Then you get brought to their page. This is built by Plurality. A little bit about Plurality. They are a Web3 startup from Berlin. Looks like they have 3 folks working there. And I'm going to admit I am not an expert on Web3 or blockchain, and I have looked into what they do, and beyond AI context flow, I don't really understand. But this seems to be their main consumer product, which they have been launching actually over the last several weeks. Last week was their latest push on Product Hunt to try and get this in front of as many people as possible. So let's see how it works. Okay, here I am in ChatGPT, and I see that I have a new button here. So I often have to add some context like this. I'm a host of Prompt and Circumstance, a weekly podcast about AI tools for product teams. And then what am I doing? And then sometimes I'll also attach transcripts of recent episodes for extra context or extra information about what we're trying to do. Let's see what happens with AI context flow. So I already have the option to improve my prompt. All right, so let's optimize this prompt. All right, so that's not too bad. It's recrafted my prompt, but of course it's kind of misunderstood that I've attached some transcripts as context themselves in the prompt. So already this tool doesn't seem to work great. If you have some pieces of context that you have stored externally and are attaching to your prompts, is a way to save you time switching from tool to tool. It works better if you're typing out all of your context each time. All right, I went ahead and made some updates here, and I'm going to see if I can save this. Oh, no, I was not able to save the context. All right, so let's try and submit the message and then see what happens. As the chat populates here, what I asked it to do was just to give me some tips on a structure for this exact podcast that I'm recording right now. Let's see what it came up with. This makes a lot of sense. It's talking about the functionality, the workflow fit, the impact and effectiveness comparing to other tools. And also understood that we have a business and product angle where we talk about the monetization model and talk about how this fits into the larger ecosystem. And it's actually given a sample flow of the entire thing. Now let's see if we can save this to AI context flow. So it's saving now. Let's see what happens. Get a spinning wheel. And now we have podcast episode prep as a new context. So it looks like you have to submit a chat in order to save a new context. But now that we have one, let's go over to another tool and then see how this works. So we're going to go into AI Studio and get a thumbnail for this podcast episode. Here we are in Google AI Studio. Now let's go to Nano Banana. Interestingly, it looks like AI Context Flow, which is a Chrome extension, does not work itself within Google AI Studio. I wonder if we switch to Flash. Nope, still not available. I did try and click on the extension, and it looks like there's something that I can copy over, but so far, not so great on the UI, UX for copying over context of different tools. But let's give it another try in Claude. Here we are in Claude. And in Claude, we do see this improved prompt, podcast episode prep, and the AI context flow buttons appearing on our screen. So I just put in something basic here. I need a podcast episode rundown for a tool review. And let's see if I can add context to my prompt here. I wonder what will happen if I try to optimize. So it has lost the context of what I am talking about, and I'm not able. So I'm just going to note that I started clicking around on the screen and forgot to actually describe what I was doing. But basically, I started to see what would happen if I played around with the tool. So let's see what happened once I got it fixed. All right, this is interesting. So I clicked around a few times and basically exited the prompt improving that I had already saved from ChatGPT and then entered it again. And then this time, when I clicked on improve prompt, it did actually preserve my context from the previous chat. So it's saying you're a podcast content development specialist, assisting in AI tools for product teams, or tasks to help the user, co-host of the podcast, prompted circumstance, et cetera, et cetera. So it did actually preserve all of my context from the other conversation, which is pretty cool. I mean, there's a little bit of a UX bug there where, I have to click in and out to be able to get it to actually use the context that it has from the other tool. But if they're able to fix that, which I'm sure they will, this could totally be something that I could see using where you have different contexts for different types of AI conversations that you're having. So for me, being the co-host of a podcast is one set of context that I have. In other cases, I want to create material for the podcast. So then I have to share branding information and other stylistic choices that we tend to make. In a different context, David and I are saving teachers millions of hours by creating the next great AI TA. And that has a certain set of context around it in terms of the product's capabilities and, again, branding and design guidelines. So I can totally see why this would be useful. I'm going to give it one more try with one other use case, which is around the branding for the podcast. So I'm going to see if I can get it to remember the branding for our podcast so that I don't have to put that in each time I want to send a prompt to ChatGPT. And I'm going to do this in Claude, save it, and then go over to ChatGPT. All right. So what I've done is I've created a prompt here for asking for a thumbnail for a new episode. And I've provided some logos, some previous thumbnails, as well as our general branding guidelines. I'm going to go ahead and submit this because we learned last time you got to submit the prompt in order to save it, save the context in AI context flow, and then let's see what happens. So we're going to save this as a new context. And here we go. While Claude is working, we have improved prompt thumbnail design brief. So this is a new context that's available to us in AI context flow. Now let's pop back over to ChatGPT and see what happens. All right, so here we are back in ChatGPT, and we're just going to say, I need a new thumbnail for an episode about AI context flow. And then they did say that you could hit Command I to automatically improve your prompt. Let's see how it does. And look at that. So it has improved our prompt. It mentioned the name of the podcast as well as the color palettes, and it has mentioned some attached files. So we're going to attach the same files here. Interestingly, because I'm on the free version of ChatGPT, I guess I can't upload more context files. So be it. We're just going to upload this one and go ahead and give it that. All right. So ChatGPT has gone off. Just out of curiosity, I'm going to check another couple of AI tools and see if it works there. So here I am in Perplexity, and I can see that AI context flow has shown up here. How about a less popular tool how does it work there? All right, here I'm in Mistral's Le Chat, and you can see there's no AI context flow tool here. There's no header. So it seems like AI context flow is currently limited to ChatGPT, Claude, and Perplexity among the tools that I looked into. It's not available in Gemini and definitely not available in some of these smaller tools. So it's a new tool. We'll probably forgive them for that. But keep that in mind if you are used to using Mistral or maybe Llama for your day-to-day AI needs. Now, in terms of pricing, they throttle you on the free tier in terms of number of optimizations that you can make per day. So I made, I think, 3 in the time of this demo, and that looks like it's going to use somewhere between 30 to 60% of my daily credits. If you need more than that, you can subscribe to a monthly plan for $5 a month or $50 a year. And that gives you also more context spaces. I guess if you are like me and you have one for your podcast, another for business, maybe one for personal use. If you have more spaces than that, then you can upgrade to their Plus plan for $10 a month or $100 a year. I would say overall, this could be a useful tool, especially if you're copying over large amounts of context from tool to tool, especially if that context changes frequently. So, for example, if today I have a certain set of context and I'm going to try things out in a bunch of tools, and then tomorrow I'm going to have a new context and try it out in a bunch of tools. Otherwise, hopefully you've built up a context library where you can just copy paste a bunch of context into a tool each time that you need to use it, which may or may not be faster than using the AI context flow. And probably you have an existing library already. So in terms of my recommendation, I'd say if you're one of those users who is copying over context all the time, give it a try. I'm curious to hear what you think. And with that, that's this week's episode. Thank you for listening. Give us a like and a review. Leave us a comment. Let us know, how do you like to preserve context between tools? Otherwise, you can follow us on all the socials at PNC Podcast, and we'll talk to you next week. See you.